Today I fucked up by smoking from a pipe that was kept outside. This happened a few years ago, but the absurdity and trauma of this haunts me to this day, and I think it needs to be shared. So here goes. 'Twas the summer solstice. My then boyfriend and I, being woo-woo hippies and lovers of psychedelics, thought it a grand idea to drive up to his cabin in the country, spend some time in nature and perhaps dabble in some substances that might enhance said time in nature. And I'm not talking about smoking a little joint in the woods, though we'd undoubtedly do that too. I'm talking about ingesting one of the biggest granddaddies of psychedelics, TMT. For those of you who haven't had the joy/terror of getting your ass handed to you by technicolor elven deities and geometric alien gnomes for 10 incredibly intense minutes, that's what it's like. Short, powerful and fucking insane. So we get up to his land, get a fire going outside the cabin, and walk a few hundred feet to my BF's specially christened smoking spot, a mossy little clearing overlooking a pond. The ground is soft, the view is beau. Today I fucked up, and I'm feeling pretty good about blasting off on some tea. My BF reaches down toward a small enclave in the rocks on the pond's perimeter and retrieves the smoking apparatus. It's a beaker-looking thing with some strong science lab vibes, and is completely blackened on the inside. I remark that he really should clean the thing, but he says he had used it recently and it was fine. I don't push the matter. I don't want any petty quarreling to deter my grounded, tea-ready state of mind. He loads up the pipe and lights for me as I inhale through the mouth of the beaker. "Keep going," he says, pushing me to inhale deeper, and again. "Keep going." And I inhale more. I feel about ready to be done with my hit, but he says keep going one more time, and since he was the more seasoned tripper, I obliged. Now, tea does not taste great, but I don't do it often enough to really remember exactly how it's supposed to taste. But this last hit did not taste right at all. I cough and hack like I'm going for a gold medal in some kind of respiratory malfunction Olympics. Like my lungs are child prodigies of expulsion. My throat feels like it has been chemically scorched by Satan himself. The tea is creeping up around my brain and turning all of it into an amped up psychedelic nightmare. I was downplaying my condition as best I could, but managed to sputter out that I didn't think my BF should use that same pipe. So he whipped a regular little weed pipe out of his pocket and has loaded up his own tea. He takes a massive hit. Despite my attempts to fucking play it cool, I am still a writhing weeping wreck of a woman and I cannot stop coughing. He is blasting off into intense as fucked tea world as he watches me cough so hard I throw up on my shoe. Yep, playing it cool. So we finally come down from our weird/bad trips. It felt like some holy mountain shit. I managed to stop the continuous coughing, but my throat and lungs really do feel scorched and fucked up. I suspected that the terrible taste and coughing were from some build-up of impurities or some bullshit in that blackened beaker. So we take it with us to clean and walk back to the campfire. My BF puts the pipe in the fire for a few minutes, hoping to burn out some of the residue or impurities or whatever. He removes it, and taps it out on the picnic table. And something falls out. Slugs. Not one slug. Not two slugs. Three slugs fall from the mouth of the beaker, crispy and charred. I had smoked slugs. Slugs sprinkled with tea. Slugs. It had rained the previous few days, and, as I mentioned earlier, my BF kept this beaker pipe outside near a pond. There was more puking, more crying, more coughing and lots of exclamations of the new phrase "you made me smoke slugs." Thankfully, my respiratory tract made a full recovery, and he never kept his tea pipe outside again. Too long didn't read. I smoked tea out of a pipe that had been left outside and contained 3 slugs. Thus, I smoked 3 slugs. Look, you take a slug of booze and a hit of pot. Try to keep those straight, okay? There was a today I fucked up back in the day where a guy dropped his nug of tree in the dark, and ended up smoking cat shit. This comes in as a close second to that. This is your brain on drugs. This is your brain on slugs. I just think about those 3 slugs. Those slimy little dudes just enjoyed a full body dose. Ripping balls on tea. I imagine them going from blissfully unaware to forever enlightened. geometric elves and all. But then the slugs take another trip. Up the fun, psychedelic type. No, not that at all. They took a second trip straight to a fiery hell. What a day. R.I.P. slimy dudes. Wait, this dude had another regular pipe in his pocket and was just like, now let's hit this nasty ass one that's been laying outside for days. That's the real fuck up, I'd say. Is that worse than hey my special friend is hacking up a lung while tripping? Instead of making sure they're going to be fine, I'll just spark up. Today I fucked up by threatening the Queen in front of her security. Okay, so this actually happened in 2012. The Queen of the UK was celebrating her Diamond Jubilee, her 50th anniversary of being Queen, by visiting cathedrals all over the UK. At the time I happened to work in a shop down the road from one of the cathedrals she was visiting. She arrived by her private train, yes she has one, and then was driven in her car parked outside the shop to the front of the cathedral. It was intense. We had to be briefed by her security, snipers on all the buildings around us, told to cancel all deliveries made that day. At the time, we were obviously more busy than we'd ever been, and it was all hands on deck and all the workers including myself were frustrated. But one lady that worked with us was an avid admirer of the royal family, and all shift she was going outside to see if she could catch a glimpse of the Queen, which started to make the rest of us angry. After the 10th time however, as she was going to walk outside she said I hope she comes in to say hello, to which I stupidly replied I hope she gets shot, in front of a group of people from MI6 who didn't like that comment. So I was taken to one side, had to give over all my information just short of a blood sample, and I'm now most probably on a terrorist watch list. Too long didn't read, I jokingly threatened the Queen in front of her private security. Lucky you for not getting taken away. Why do you think it took him 8 years to post this? Oh dude, you don't want to fuck with this Liz. Everyone who has is in a ditch somewhere or an underpass. Okay, so this actually happened in 2012, but they've only just let me out of prison for what happened. Wouldn't be prison for that, straight to the tower. Cancel all your deliveries today. Go fuck yourself. MI6, add that sarcasm guy to the watch list. This could have ended very badly. Today I fucked up by wearing band merch to work. So I figured I should start off by saying I just started this job and I haven't gotten my uniform yet, hence the reason I've been wearing street clothes to work. So I recently started my new job as an evening custodian at the local elementary school. Today started like any other day. Punch in, get my closet in order, stand around and do nothing for an hour so the kids can get out of my way and I can get to work. I went into a classroom that still had some kids in it, waiting for the bus, I presume. When I turn around and grab the trash, I look back at this teacher, she's in her mid-40s. A look on her face, absolute disgust and shock. I thought my ass crack slipped out. I asked if everything was okay and she hurried me out of the room and closed the door. At this point I'm like okay, that was weird as whatever. About 10 minutes later I get paged over the PA system, asking me to report to the office immediately. That same feeling I'd get as a kid, knowing I'm in trouble rushed over me. Could feel my stomach twisting. In the office is my boss, the school principal, a liaison officer, and the teacher. What the fuck? The principal asks if I could tell her what my shirt says, and I tell her, oh, this is just a band shirt from one of my favorite metal bands. And she's like, looking at me like I'm some sort of psychopath. What is the band called? I replied, and then realized where I had fucked up. Infant Annihilator. So I'm like, JFC all this over a stupid ass band shirt, WTF. And then the adult in me is like, bruh, use your common sense. These people don't listen to that music. All they see is a grown-ass man wearing a shirt with a pentagram, 666s all over it, and fucking Infant Annihilator in a school of children. The worst part of this is that they proceeded to pull them up on YouTube and she was reading off the names of some of the songs. Pinned down and fisted, anal prolapse suffocation. I was embarrassed as like as a metalhead you either love or hate them, but to explain them to an ordinary person, who's probably religious, you just can't. At least without looking like a total sick fuck. I write this from my car, smoking a cig. Still have my job. Started it off on the worst of possible feet to start on. And now I have a free hoodie. Go Cardinals. Too long didn't read. Wore Infant Annihilator merch into an elementary school where I work. School thinks I might be a murderer Satanist. Got free school merch. Yeah, you didn't F you for wearing band merch, you F you because you didn't really think. Unless this is the first job you've ever had, you should realize that if you don't have a uniform yet, you pretty much always wear plain, non-logoed clothes with no writing or pictures or any other dumb shit. Unless you're working at a music store or a clothing store, then you would clearly dress for that style of place. And let's be honest here, wearing a shirt that literally says Infant Annihilator to a fucking school is some of the worst judgment I think anyone has had in this sub. Ha ha ha. I think the gentleman who tried to throw a steak through a window when he didn't like it probably has the worst judgment in the history of this sub. Accidentally wearing a shirt you'd otherwise normally wear with no qualms about it in a sensitive work environment is completely understandable though. Like, who doesn't have those days where they just grab a shirt, throw it on, and go? A fashion crime for the ages. I'm glad you've still got your job. Same lol, I honestly enjoy it here, and I'm lucky to have gotten this job during this whole pandemic. When I was in high school, my crush invited me to go to a meeting of her Catholic youth group with her. Now, I've always been non-religious, but I was about 14 and my brain was just full of boobs all the time, so of course I agreed. I was obsessed with Metallica back then, like, an unhealthy level. So of course it didn't cross my mind that the Master of Puppets t-shirt I wore to the meeting would not go over well with religious folks. No, the shirt with God's hands pulling puppet strings tied to gravestones? Yeah, it did not go over well. I was not invited back. Love it. When I was 14 I wore a Slayer t-shirt with a huge pentagram on it into a church without realizing. Was asked to leave as they found it offensive. I'm a parent and I wore a similar shirt to one of my daughter's sports days only to get horrified looks that I didn't initially understand, so of course I laughed ridiculously hard at this. It's so easily done, too. I went to a hospital to visit someone after surgery. It wasn't until I parked and got out of my car did it hit me I was wearing a shirt that simply says The Nearly Deads. No logo, no other text, just that.